Can you still remember when horses and anything to do with horses was a real novelty for you? I think we all start off that way when it comes to horse riding, and it's like, oh, there's a horse, oh, there's another horse, and we just love it. And then over time, the novelty begins to wear off, and yet this is where many riders find themselves. In fact, this is where most riders find themselves. And unless you do something to bring that spark back, yeah, it can all go downhill. Okay, today I want to talk about curiosity and how you can use it for you and your horse. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is Lorna Leeson. I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I specifically help riders who often ride alone go from feeling maybe a little bit bored, stuck, or guilty to actually having a plan and an outcome for each ride with their horse. Okay, and today I want to talk about those feelings of boredom and being stuck and maybe the guilt that then comes from there, and how you can begin to change that, and how, if you are not careful and if you're not very active in really and truly moving things forward for you and your horse, or just your riding in general, maybe you don't have your own horse yet, okay, but being active in really coming up with ideas and things to do and just things that are going to inspire you, okay? Things can go very wrong very, very quickly. I think it's really important, and it's often something that we don't realize, because at the end of the day, we have to be honest in saying that the initial novelty that you may have experienced when you first started horse riding, and again, we all get it, okay? We all experience that. But it is going to wear off. It's going to happen at some point or another. And when it does, very often we find ourselves kind of in this, what starts off being quite a satisfying kind of a comfort zone initially. We find ourselves being there, and then it just becomes same old and same old, okay? It's like going over and over again, the same 30 minutes on repeat every day with you and your horse. And horse riding, instead of it being a novelty, instead of it being something that you love to do, it just becomes really mundane. It becomes a chore, like a thing that you have to tick off the list every day. And if you don't, then you get those feelings of guilt come in, okay? Now, I really and truly think that so many times as riders, we fail to understand that there's this responsibility, that where initially the horse may very much have the responsibility, and sometimes single-handedly, it's the horse who actually bears that responsibility. And the responsibility is to have each ride being a success, okay? The responsibility, it comes down to the horse's behavior and how the horse kind of worked with the rider, okay? And you'll find that initially, very often when beginners are riding, it'll all come down to, was the horse behaving himself or not? Okay? And the whole ride will be really and truly coloured by this, okay? But then later that shifts. And what happens is we as riders, we have to actually take on the responsibility for how successful and how much fun and how exciting and how kind of that each ride has moved us forward in some way or another. It becomes our responsibility. And sometimes we don't realize that. We don't recognize that. And I'm telling you now, if you fail to recognize that, and if you fail to begin taking on that responsibility, the cracks are going to start showing pretty soon. And what often happens is that horse riding, it just begins to tumble lower and lower and lower down the priority list. And of course, once it's been down there, once it goes down to, there's this certain kind of cut-off point, it's like the relegation zone, eh? Once it goes so far, that's it then. It's gone. It's not on the schedule anymore. So I don't want that to happen to you. I want to help you to really and truly begin to become curious about your responsibility and about how you can take this responsibility on and also make it really fun and really something that you're going to enjoy going forward long term, okay? You see, I think that many riders, when they start riding initially, and remember, horse riding is a novelty at this point, they know just enough, they know enough to do whatever it is that they enjoy doing. So for some riders, this could just be trotting. They'll do the rising trot, okay? And then other riders, you have them, maybe they're able to jump a track of 2-foot fences, okay? And they're never going to be an Olympian, and they don't care. They can get around, they can navigate the track of fences, and they have great fun, like great crack, as we'd say in Ireland. They're able to do it in a way that they're totally enjoying themselves. Like, it's brilliant. They're loving it, okay? Might not be great, might not be perfect. In fact, it rarely is. But they're loving it. They're like, this is great. This is the best thing since sliced bread, okay? This is fantastic. I could do this all day long, every day. And that's great. And then kind of it becomes that, it just starts to get a little bit repetitive, a little bit boring. And the thing is that when we reach a comfort zone, we need to understand that a comfort zone is more like a plateau that you rest on for a limited period of time before then beginning to climb again, okay? Before then beginning to do something maybe more uncomfortable again. It's when we stay in the comfort zone for too long that boredom begins to creep in. And this is where you really want to start thinking about, let's take the track of fences, okay? Yeah, sure, you can get around the 60 centimetre, the 2-foot track of fences, you can do that. But how could you begin to do it better, okay? What do you not even know about doing this better? I think that it is really, really important to become curious. And this is what I want to talk about today. When you become curious about more, and we're using more in inverted commas, okay, like more, okay, that is where you can begin to take that responsibility for the fun and the spark and the excitement and all the things that go with it. Like, so as it stays being like, woohoo, high up on the priority list, it's something we're going to get done. That's where you can start to make that happen for you and your horse, okay? Now, very often where we begin to kind of become a little bit curious is we see somebody else doing something, and whether it's in a magazine or it's in a book or it's in maybe on YouTube or it's in the practice ring or it's at the local, wherever you ride in the arena, you kind of see somebody and yeah, they're doing what you were doing. Maybe they're trotting and you were trotting, but they're like really focusing. They're doing the same thing over and over, but you can see this look of focus and intention and concentration on their faces, and you can see now that's actually working, that like it's improving. Interesting. What's going on there? Okay, that is very often where we can begin to become curious and where we can begin to start taking that responsibility. Now, hopefully whoever it is that you see, you could maybe reach out to them and say, why are you doing that? Like, why are you doing that over and over? What are you trying to achieve here? And hopefully they will actually understand what they're doing, and they can begin to even, spark your curiosity a little bit more. Maybe they can, throw in words like rhythm and tempo and lightness and whatever it is they're actually working on, okay? But that you begin to say, interesting. I wonder if I could do that. Okay. And now for you, trotting no longer is just trotting anymore. Like you were delighted a couple of months ago, you could just do your up downs. You were like, look at this. The day is young and so are we, and we're flying. And now you're more like, hold on now. That's not enough. I need more. What do I need to know? How can I make it more? How can I make it better? And there you go. Now, with that curiosity in place, you can begin to make things interesting again for you and your horse. You can begin to take over the responsibility for each ride being a quote unquote success, or each ride being quote unquote epic, okay? You can start to do that for you and your horse. It's no longer just falling solely on the shoulders of your horse to make sure that you leave each session at the stables feeling like, wow, that was brilliant, okay? So that's important. Now, once you begin to kind of notice, I feel a little bit more curious about that, and I want to learn more about that. It's also really important to understand that it's not all going to be sunshine and roses, hey? You see, what I think happens here at this point is riders will go and they'll find all these different exercises, okay? And whether, again, they find them in books or magazines, or they go online and they're looking at YouTube, or they're on Instagram or wherever, okay? they've got all these exercises and they're like, that's it. It's the exercises. That's what does it for me. And they'll kind of take the exercises into the arena and they'll just begin riding the exercises. Now, that won't work because exercises alone are not going to give you long-term results in your riding. And it's so important to understand that, okay? You have to rather begin to think about how you can strengthen the basics, okay? And how you can strengthen the basics from the perspective that you understand more about them, that you are able to then communicate that to your horse and that your horse then understands, and the two of you can then work together in order to make it happen. This is really important. It's when we fall into this trap of riding the exercises, okay? This is where riders, sooner or later, they just stop trying because inevitably the exercises don't work. Okay, and they think like, oh man, that's rubbish. That doesn't work. You know, trotting poles. Okay, for amateurs never works. Okay, but you need to understand that it's not just the exercises. It's understanding the concepts. It's coupling this with the realization that things have to change, or you have to start doing something new, or you need to stop doing something, and also that there needs to be time and consistency added into that mix as well. It's only when you begin to blend all of those together that horse riding really begins to get interesting. It begins to have this sense of purpose for you and your horse. And also, if there were any feelings of boredom and kind of, this is the same day on repeat over and over, you're going to be able to get rid of those, okay? You're going to be able to rather come with this, no, we worked on this last week, we're going to work on this week. I have 3 days, or I have 4 days, or I have 2 days, even if you've just a day, I have to do this. I'm going to choose these exercises and the focus is going to be on this because it's a stepping stone to get me to the next place, okay? It's really, really important to understand that no one exercise is going to transform anything. It comes down to the consistency and also to resilience. Because at the end of the day, when you become more curious about kind of, what can I do and how can I maybe make changes that are going to help things to improve, you also have to understand that changes will bring a certain level of discomfort with them. Now you're getting out of the comfort zone, okay? You're leaving it behind. You're pushing into new territory. And a lot of riders are not willing to become uncomfortable, okay? They don't like that. They're not willing to keep tweaking and to try again and maybe even to fail and to realize, hold on, that doesn't work at all. What I thought I was working towards and what we actually achieved are nothing even, they don't even resemble each other, okay? That's not where we're going. But they are all the things that are absolutely essential. They're like crucial for you eventually becoming an actual rider in the saddle instead of just being a passenger for your horse. You have to build your resilience muscles, okay? You have to be able to understand that things are not going to work out. I was just in the arena last week and one of the riders was getting quite frustrated with herself, with me, with the horse, with everybody. And it was because for the previous couple of months, she'd actually had a good run, if you want, okay? She'd worked hard and then she reached the comfort zone. And, I'm a big fan of allowing people to settle in there just to get everything fine-tuned. I like that, okay? I think it's a good idea to kind of allow everything to begin to work together and it works well. But then we have to leave the comfort zone and we have to begin to climb again. We have to begin to build again. And she was not enjoying the climbing or the building, okay? It was like, no, this feels hard. I feel like I'm a beginner again. I feel like I'm a newbie all over again. And I don't like that feeling. And I was trying to explain to her that feeling is essential. Get used to it and actually begin to see that feeling as something that you can both inspire a little bit more curiosity. Interesting. So what do I need to understand better? What can I do better? What can I do differently? Blah, blah, blah. But also that feeling also of coming with a little bit of like anticipation, because you know that there's going to be so much more interesting things coming from that, okay? And if you can see it, it's the same feeling. You're just going to shift how you're looking at it. And that can very often be the inspiration for then helping you to get through those days where things are not going to plan and it feels like, in fact, nothing's going to plan and you can't do anything, because you're going to have those days when you're building and when you're climbing, okay? It is so, so, so important. I really and truly believe that the feeling of being curious, okay? If you can just think about being curious, okay? How can I become more curious when it comes to me, my horse, and our riding and our work together and what we're doing together? How can I use that emotion to shift us on, to move us further down the road, closer to where we actually want to be long term? Go for curiosity. Curiosity, I'm convinced of this. Curiosity is a feeling, it's an emotion that you can get to from almost anywhere. Like, there's a lot of emotions when you're in them. It can be very difficult to get to another emotion, okay? Like a lot of emotions, when you try and get somewhere else, it's just too big a jump. It's like, no, that's not going to work, okay? You need something in between to get you to the next thing where you really want to go. Curiosity can be that. It can be that emotion. So what I'm going to ask you to do today is to begin thinking about what you can become more curious about in your riding and in your work with your horse. I think that that's really, really, really important. What I'm going to advise you to do if you're feeling a little bit stuck is pop over to stridesforsuccess.com/time, and you can download there. There's a workbook about finding more time to ride, but along with it comes 80 plus different ideas, all kind of divided into time categories for you that you can actually use today to begin to maybe spark a couple of feelings of curiosity and to help you and your horse begin to move forward in your riding, even if you've only 10 minutes working together. You can find that over at stridesforsuccess.com/time, and I'm going to pop that link also in the show notes to this episode. Okay, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. If you have found value in this and you think that there's something in here who can help one of your horsey friends, please, please, please do me a huge favour. Can you please share the episode with them, and also maybe pop in and rate and review the episode wherever you're listening. It really, really helps us to reach new riders and to help them on their journey with their horse as well. Have a super week. Keep well, and I'll talk to you soon. Be good. Bye.